Hello, my name is Andrew, you can call me Cookies, and today we are taking a look at each of the boss encounters within the Theater of Pain dungeon and figuring out how to play them as a healer. First up, we have an Affront of Challengers. Let's go over each of the 4 bosses' abilities and talk about things to know about as a healer. Desia, the Decapitator, will hit the tank with Mortal Strike, reducing healing taken, so be sure to put a bit of extra healing into the tank to keep them topped off for when Desia casts Slam, which deals a large amount of damage instantly to the tank. Passerin, the Virulent, will target random players with Plague Bolt, which will deal a moderate amount of damage if not interrupted. Other than this, Genetic Alteration applies a disease to all players that will cause them to drop green pools at their feet every 8 seconds. Sathel, the Accursed, similarly inflicts moderate damage to random players with Necromantic Bolt, which should only be interrupted when Spectral Transference is active. Otherwise, be prepared to keep the party topped up. Lastly, Zira, the Underhanded, cannot be damaged but instead will periodically ambush a random player, stunning them and dealing heavy damage until she is stunned out of her own cast. The next boss in this dungeon is Gorechop. The main heavy-hitting ability here is Hateful Strike, which will deal physical damage to the tank, while oozing leftover adds will spawn while you are dodging the patterns of hooks that sweep across the room. These adds will leap onto random targets, dealing a heavy amount of damage to everyone within 4 yards, so be sure to stay spread out, avoid meat hooks, and keep the tank topped off for Hateful Strike. Next up, we have Zave the Unfallen, whose regular auto attacks mixed in with brutal combo cast will deal a consistent heavy amount of tank damage throughout the fight. Might of Maldraxxus is when Zave leaps to the middle of the room, inflicting heavy damage to the entire group and performing a series of avoidable attacks, one of which being Deafening Crash, which we should be aware of as it interrupts spellcasting, so be sure to keep an eye on that during the attack pattern. Another boss found within this instance is Thorac. Going right into this fight, the boss will debuff 2 random players with Phantasmal Parasite, which needs to be dispelled as soon as possible. The player you don't dispel will continue taking a heavy amount of damage every second for the next 10 seconds or until you dispel it, so be sure to keep that player topped off. Aside from this, the group will be taking a light amount of ticking damage for the entire duration of the fight, so keep in mind the danger of players getting Phantasmal Parasite when they are not full HP, as it will kill them very quickly. The last boss you'll be put up against is Dretha, the Endless Empress. This fight starts out slow but picks up very quickly and involves a lot of avoidable mechanics that overlap with one another. The primary mechanic we will be healing through is Grasping Rift, which will pull all players towards a nearby rift and will overlap with the next major mechanic called Manifest Death, which will deal a moderate amount of damage to all players every 2 seconds for 6 seconds. When the 6 seconds is up, a heavy amount of damage is dealt to all players and a Deathwalker ad is spawned at that player's location, which casts Deathbolt at random players, inflicting moderate damage if not interrupted. Due to the moving component of these overlapping mechanics with Grasping Rift, be sure to be prepared ahead of time to heal the group through this, as you'll be needing to run away from the rift, dropping your ad in a decent spot, and not overlapping with other players, all at the same time as keeping everyone alive. Other than this, keep the tank topped off for Reaping Scythe, which will hit the tank for a heavy amount of magic damage and physical damage, and if you can make it through this portion of the fight, you'll have the dungeon all finished up. So that covers all the bosses within the Theater of Pain. Like the video if you found this useful, and let me know which boss is your favorite so far in the dungeon to heal. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.